All right, we're back. I've got Patrik Warneke here with Emerald City Real Estate, your Seattle real estate broker. And we're going to continue our series today. We're on milestone 5, closing. Can you believe it, Patrik?
No, not at all. But hey, I'm excited to be here, and it was real fun to kind of put this together. I think it should be a really good knowledge base for a lot of folks, and hopefully some of my potential clients and just people out there in general, I think will get a lot out of understanding their real estate process, because there's a lot of anxiety that goes into it, and knowledge will really help kind of soothe that to a greater extent, I think.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so today we're talking about, closing on your home that's under contract. So, so right now your paperwork signed. Well, we're going to get into that under contract. I want to do just a quick recap on kind of where we're at, and then kind of lead us right into that all the way to close. So, right now your paperwork's signed, your date's picked, your photos are taken. What now, right? You're listed. Be prepared to leave your home. Be prepared, like on day one, to leave your home, kind of get out there and be like, oh wow, people are going to come check it out. Like, okay, cool. So, what you just know that what you should have going is kind of like showing time selected with your agent, or have it posted on vacant on the MLS, or be prepared to leave based on appointment. So those are kind of some of the thoughts that maybe you can have kind of going into this, like what does that look like? So maybe it can be an appointment that people set with you. Or maybe there's just a set schedule, like, hey, I'm gone from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day, so people can freely come see it. And really what you want is people to be able to come freely see it. They'll be with their agent every time, so it's safe, and the showing instructions will be posted on the agent-only remarks in the MLS for the brokers to see. It's not going to be on Zillow, so don't worry. It's not posted on Zillow that you're out of your house every day between 9 and 5. Only brokers get to see that information, and they'll be with their client showing. Best case scenario is that you'll be out of town on vacation, and that's because now agents can show your home a lot more freely. There's a lot of times where I'm showing some buyers a home, and then I know that there's this perfect home right down the street for them, because I'm like looking on the computer while they're checking things out. I'm like, oh my God, this is a great home, and then I'll look and I'll go, oh, I got to call an hour ahead of time to show this appointment. I scratch that one, let's go see a different one. And that could be your home. So just keep that in mind. So more access equals the likelihood of more offers, which equals potentially higher price. So now, one thing that's always nice to see when someone walks in your home is a little letter left by the seller about why they bought the home, why they moved into that neighborhood. Imagine yourself going out there and seeing a book like that. You're like, just at least a little letter just saying why you love the neighborhood, why you love going to the local coffee shop, the sweet people at the grocery market there, anything that's really important to you. You love spending time in the backyard or gazing out at whatever it may be, right? But a little passionate letter from the sellers is really cool. Tool to get people kind of hooked and engaged on your house. And so now that people are seeing your home, what should you be prepared for? And I would say, number one, you should be prepared for an offer. And I know that sounds like, of course, right? But, they can come in quick. So be prepared to start negotiating fast. Or you could have an offer review date, which a lot of folks are doing now. And it's really smart. Really depends on the situation, depends on your market. So, that's best to have a discussion with your broker about. Questions too, and that's why it's good to have that kind of list about things about your home. So you're going to get questions. Oftentimes I'll get them from brokers about, hey, we're curious about, what's the age of that water heater, or when that roof was installed last, or something like that, right? And your agent should give you also feedback on the foot traffic. So, how many people, pass through your home? Maybe feedback on the internet traffic, that you're getting, how many people have looked at your home or liked your home or something like that. So that's how many views are you getting. So that's really good information that'll be coming from your broker. So, then, I think it's really important to talk about, once you get an offer, right? What do we do now? Well, there's some negotiation that's going to go into it, and there is really a lot to selecting a winning offer. And outside of price, a lot of it has to do with things that are important to you. So, we could get into things like rent backs, that might be important to a particular person. So that means, when the home has closed, you still have time in there, and you are now the tenant of your own home or your ex-home, if you will. And the buyers are now the new owners of the home. Anyway, there's situations we can create within the addenda through negotiating that can offer you some graces, and kind of be able to stay in your home a little past closing if the situation demands it. And then, also quick close, if you're ready to get out of your house now, or maybe you've already moved, quick close is really important. So there's kind of two big things to go over once you're under contract, and that's negotiations and a contractual timeline, just kind of like what happens next, right? So you might be surprised that, in negotiating, that a lot of negotiations are actually done verbal. So there's a lot of back and forth, and verbal can be useful once an offer is established, because it saves time, and then we can kind of really wrap things up without a lot of back and forth into a solid offer that both parties agree on. So, I think a lot of people get surprised. Also, like, you want to, how do we do this? How do we do this process? Well, it's picking up the phone, talking to the other broker, and figuring out how we can, come to agreement. And here's some things to consider. Make sure, and this is something that can't be, more overstated here, is make sure you don't lose the deal over a small amount of money, even a few $1,000s. I've had buyers walk away just because the sellers wouldn't negotiate at all. So I mean, I remember this time where literally the repair was about $50, and my clients walked away, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'll buy that for you." And they're like, "No, we just feel like they're not willing to work with us." And so it's like, hey, really think about how your stance on this, and remember that time is money. And your home can appreciate or depreciate by 10% in a year. So, and that's not uncommon at all. In fact, in Seattle, we've seen higher swings. And right now in Seattle, the median price for single-family home is, in February 2020, is approximately $740,000. And that means that the home can appreciate or depreciate by as much as $5,000 in 1 month. So now you think about that $50 repair, and you're like, wow, I really should have done that, because now we're stuck on the market again, and now we're negotiating at a much lower price. Could be a lot of things. So just know that, a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. And please factor some of this in before you really dig your heels in, And so some of the stuff that you want to discuss with your broker is, what do we look at in a buyer's offer? Financing versus cash, a pre-approval or a proof of funds, what are the impacts of financing versus cash? Quite substantial, and I think we can dive in really deep on a lot of this stuff, but I just kind of want to hit a few ideas in your head so that you kind of understand some of the things that you'll be discussing and kind of really weighing in this decision. Earnest money, time to close, and things like why can a lower cash amount be better than a higher financing amount in some cases. And then repairs or considerations. There's a good example of going verbal. Like it kind of really talking about what is this, getting a repair fixed. Let me just pick up the phone, talk to that broker before there's a lot of back and forth and paperwork, and everybody's got to sign or e-sign. Anyway, that's something that we should you're going to definitely dive deep into when you're confronted with that situation. And then any sort of last minute issues with the buyer's underwriters. That's stuff that you're going to kind of really dive in deep with your, that could really, underwriters can really drag out a process. I've seen really simple transactions. The underwriters for the buyers might have overlook something, or they want to investigate something, deeper, and you don't get that clear to close or something like that, and it can really drag out the timeline. And then, there's concessions, right? So hopefully you don't have to give anything up, but sometimes we see folks with little money down, and we end up doing things like seller paid closing costs. And I know closing costs, and I totally get that. But one of the things a buyer can do, is kind of like wrap their closing costs up into the loan, and kind of go slightly over the asking price in the process, so that the seller doesn't lose any net profit. That's something that we kind of deal with quite a bit. I guess the question comes is like, will the appraiser be okay with that justification? If it really depends on the situation, right? So we'll have to look at that closely. And then there's a lot of back and forth in creating concessions. So and they can be made on both sides. So if the buyer, let's say, needs more time to because the underwriter's investigating him and they want to buy more time from you, like that's something that can happen also. And I just again say, remember that with concessions and some of these things that, time's money. So as far as timelines go, and once an offer is accepted, there should be an easy time, there should be an easy timeline to establish. So, you have mutual, you'll have your pending inspection status, then you'll have pending status, and then your close. So there's a lot that kind of goes into that. So once you have your, usually it's like you get the offer in, buyer deposits earnest money, and that we know there's skins in the game at this point. And then they'll typically have an inspection, and then there's an inspection response that has to be done. And then once that response is delivered, it will kick into, you'll go full pending after that, or the buyers walk away and they're done. Or that's where concessions and stuff will really kind of pop in and come into play, right? Is right there in that inspection contingency and inspection status. So then, but once we're pending, that's once the inspection response is delivered and all parties agree, then your home is in pending status. And then from there, the only real thing to really watch out is some of the timelines dealing with financing. So there's gonna be some appraisers gonna come out, and then and then we'll have the appraiser might have some requests, or appraiser might say, hey, this home, I don't see the value here, or I'm seeing the value as X, and then could be a lot of other steps involved past that. But it should be, if it's a smooth, easy transaction, it just basically goes from under contract, maybe there's an inspection, maybe there's not, then right to pending, and then we have a close, and then you sign your paperwork about within the last week, once we have the appraiser's thumbs up. So, and we will also be following the financial timelines and stuff set forth in the contract. So there could be other little things in there, but that's pretty much straightforward. And then here's something really interesting, that I wanted to also share. And one of the first emails you would get from me, if we're under contract, in establishing timelines and setting forth dates. So I'll just kind of read through this really quick. So, hi client, congratulations on your accepted offer. Attached is a copy of your executed contract, and for your personal file. And here are some important dates for you to remember. Mutual acceptance, earnest money, and all these have dates on them. Your title contingency date, loan application needs to be made by, and this is for one of my buyers, and just helping them establish and understand the timeline. Your inspection response deadline, and then closing date or possession. And then I include in here, here's your next two steps: apply for your loan, and please contact your lender immediately. Make sure you officially make your loan application by the date listed above, and then deposit your earnest money. I tell them the amount, and then you have an option to either wire your funds or do a personal check to your escrow company. And and then I make a disclaimer here, and I usually make it very bold, and I usually have disclosures that my clients will sign right away regarding earnest money and wires. And this is what's crazy. This is kind of why I wanted to bring this up, is that I sent my clients this letter. It says, if you decide to wire your earnest money funds, please review the attached disclosure to ensure you are taking the proper precautions to prevent wire fraud, and make sure you call your escrow office to confirm before sending any wire. Now, they actually had someone hack into their system and pose as the escrow company, asking them to deposit a wire. And so it was completely fraudulent. And I'm glad that I sent this to them, because it really it was like, it was present in their mind. And so when they got a letter it just looked a little bit weird, and so they called the escrow company as they instructed. They were able to avoid losing in this case, it was $25,000, their earnest money. So they could have easily wired that to the wrong wire and lost that money. So just be really careful with that. It's just something I wanted to throw in here, because it's really important. I mean, in this case, me sending this out to my clients was a game. It could have been game over, right? For them in buying a house. So, and then the last thing, one of the last things here we want to discuss is just signing an escrow, and this can be done in a variety of ways. And I was just working with a client where we were trying to have them sign escrow closing documents at the U.S. Embassy, so that they can be notarized by a U.S. notary. And I've done this a few times. Last time it was the Philippines, and then before then it was a province of China. So I mean, that to say that really, we can close the home just about anywhere, and we just need to make sure It's just good to inform the escrow company. Sometimes it gets real technical, but that's not an ideal situation, is closing in an embassy or going on vacation when you're closing your home. I just say stay in town if you can. That's the best way to do it. But you can do it almost anywhere. And my preferred venue is that you sign at the title office. It's important that it is important that all signing parties be there at the same time. So just know that you don't want to have a husband and wife, or spouses in different areas during the signing time. But we'll go over that. So just know that kind of in your planning, that all parties should be there. Best case scenario is you did take a vacation when you were listing your home, but now you're back and you're ready to sign the paperwork together. So that's the best case scenario. And then closing. This is right near the end here. The closing day is usually an easy day. If escrow has it clear to close and the lender gets their wires over by 1 p.m., you should get paid right away as a seller. And I like to close in the middle of the week, and not near the end of the month when escrow is backed up. We have had issues with homes funding, but the county has not recorded by 5 p.m. And the home then does not close until the following day. And this can happen, and I would say, maybe 1 out of 100 or possibly more. So it definitely happens. So just be aware of that there might be a few little rocky bumps near the very end, but at the end of the day, it should happen. Once we release to record, it's in the county's hands. Mostly they release and we record by 4 or 5 p.m., but it could go to the following day. So just have that in mind. In all, I think that's most of what we wanted to discuss. And I think this was a really real fun to do. And I want to say thank you to Jesse for helping me go through this. And it's just been a lot of fun putting this together. And hopefully this is of really good value to some people out there looking to sell their home. It's a great market coming up here in 2020. We're feeling it's going to be very strong for sellers, it's a lot better than last year. Jesse, it's been a lot of fun, amazing putting this together. I feel like we've really covered a lot of ground, and hopefully, we've kept some buyers in tune throughout this process.
Yeah, it was awesome, Patrick. Really informative. We covered a ton, like you said, especially today. I think we covered quite a bit. And I think if somebody were curious about the whole process, they definitely are educated now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
And that education, that knowledge is power, right? If they apply that, could get a much better results. So I think it's been really successful. And by the way, if somebody wants to work with you or has questions, how do they get a hold of you?
Excellent. Yeah, you could definitely just call me on my cell phone, 206-920-6540. And you can find us at emeraldcityrealestate.com. And please reach out with any questions. I'd love to help and just answer questions that you have, educate you about the market, show you comps on your home, give you an expert home evaluation. So definitely just pick up the phone, give me a call or text. Love to hear from you.
Awesome. Thank you very much again.
My pleasure. Thank you.